Hi everybody, this is Coffee and Content, the live stream about video, live streaming and content creation. My name's John Lacey. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've had a great week and I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Today we're talking all about OBS Studio, the OBS Studio Challenge. Now, the thing that I was really not prepared for when I started live streaming and talking about live streaming was just how much people are scared of OBS. It's actually Sunday here in the future in Australia, but thank you for the well wishes nonetheless. Today I really want to help people overcome that fear of actually going live, and I really want to show you how you can get started in OBS Studio really simply. So we're going to do that in just a second, but of course this is Coffee and Content, so before we get started I better take a sip of coffee. Okay, so this is Coffee and Content. So I want to talk to you all about OBS Studio, and I really want to show you how powerful it can be, but without sort of overwhelming you, because there's lots of things that it can do, but you don't need to know all of those to get started. So first of all, if you head over to obsproject.com, you can actually go and just simply select the version of OBS that you'd like to use. It's available for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, and it is free and open source software, so you can certainly download that and use it. And just follow the prompts as you go in terms of actually installing the software. It's really straightforward. So now if I head over to a version of OBS that I've got running. And I should say too that I'm running OBS as part of this stream, and I'm running a separate portable version for the purposes of this demonstration today. So what I really want to do in terms of this challenge, the OBS Studio Challenge, is get you to download and install OBS Studio, get you to create a single scene in OBS Studio, and then actually use the virtual camera to share that screen in programs like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Google Meets. Really anything that will actually support the use of a virtual camera or a web camera. So that's what we're aiming to do today. And again, I'm going to do this fairly scrappily. I haven't really planned out exactly how this is going to go, but if you've got any comments or questions in the chat, please let me know, because we are going out live to all of the various places. So we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, even Twitch. And I don't think anybody knows I exist on Twitch, but I am over on Twitch if you're so inclined. So let's talk about OBS Studio. So once you've installed it, you've opened up the program. I know it can look a little daunting because there are a lot of options here. But like I said, today we're going to keep it really simple. And we're going to start with our first scene. So we've got a scene over here and some sources. And again, I might just move myself out of the way so you can see this a little bit better. So down here we've got our default scene, and again you can actually come in here and rename that if you want to. Let's just call it OBS Studio OBS Challenge. Again, it doesn't really matter what these things are called as long as they're meaningful to you, because you'll be the one that will be operating with them. So obviously this black section in the middle of our screen is what's going to be shown to people when we use our virtual camera. So at the moment, we've got literally nothing in our sources. So let's think about adding something. So let's go down to the, and again, let me just resize this a little bit because I think you're not seeing all of that. Okay, cool. Let's get rid of this. All right, and I'll hide that as well. All right, so this is the OBS Studio window. We've got our scene over here. We've renamed that. Again, you don't have to name your scenes, but it can be useful, especially if you start getting a number of them. And we go down here and actually add our first source. So we click on the plus sign, which is for add source, and we'll go and find our video capture device. So in this case, we're going to add a web camera. So, you know, if you've got a webcam, we can give it a name. And again, I'll just call this one webcam. You don't need the greatest and newest equipment when you start out this way. So all you really need to do from this point on is find your webcam from the list. And again, I've got a lot of things in my list. You probably won't have nearly as many, but let's go down and find the HD Pro webcam, which is the C90, which is a Logitech camera. It's pretty standard. There you can see me. It's not a great angle, and again, I'm sort of using this as a second stand-in camera today, and it's on a little desk tripod, so it's not the best. In this case, I'm going to change the resolution just to 1920 by 1080 because I know that this camera can support it, and I will go okay. So there you go. I'm already in the scene. Depending on, and this is only for example purposes today, but I'd probably actually want to go in and think about the positioning of my web camera. It's obviously angling at a slightly weird angle and you can sort of see up and above. But I just want to, there's a few different things that you can do here. So obviously I have a green screen behind me at all times. If I go back to this view, this is generally how most people would see me in the corner here. And I've got the green screen and I've actually removed that with OBS software. But if we go back to just purely what we've got here, there's a few things I can do. I can actually hold down the Alt key and I can drag this in. Have a green screen. If you right click on your webcam, go down to filters. And then in the effect filters, you can add the plus sign and go to chroma key. You can give that a name if you want to. I'll leave that on the default. And it's applied some default settings, which are a little, probably not the best for me. But again, I could sort of come in and tweak these settings and just get them looking to where I want to be. It's not perfect, but again, this is just a really quick demonstration. So we could do that. But again, today I'm going to assume that you probably don't have a green screen, and I'm just going to show you some other things that you can do instead. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and just drag these out to where it was before. And again, you might want to think a little bit more strategically about how you create, how you organize the background behind you. But today, let's just keep it really simple. So what I'm going to do is if I right click on my webcam and I go to filter, again, and go to image mask / blend. And again, you could give that a name. I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. I'll leave it on the default. And what we can do now is we can actually come in and grab an image that we can use as a mask for this. So if I just browse over here. Oh. Okay, I'll move this over to my screen so I can quickly find where I've got that particular file. And if you're interested in these, I'm thinking it might be worthwhile to actually make some mask image files that I can share with you. But essentially, I'll just drag this back over. So I've literally just got a black circle in the middle of a 1920 by 1080 image. So if I select that one now, you'll see it's actually applied the black circle over the top of my head, which isn't quite what we're looking for. So if we go to our type of mask, at the moment it says alpha mask color channel. Let's actually change the middle of that. And now I'm a little circle in my scene. I'm just gonna minimize that for a second. So again, like this in itself might be enough. And again, I'd probably need to think about repositioning my camera a little bit because maybe if I move the mic over here a little bit more, I'll be better positioned for this particular webcam because I'm generally set up for the other camera, which again, can show you. See, normally I'm here, but again, for today's purposes, let's just see what I'm doing in the software. So we've got that, and that may be enough. And again, you could use any shape, and I might build some masks and put them up on johnlacey.com if you're interested in that. So we can customize our scene even further though. So I think what I'll do first, let's actually go down one white background and click OK. And here I can adjust the color. So again, I kind of know that I want whites. And if you're a nerdy web developer or a designer, we certainly have all these different options in terms of setting these values. So you've got the HSV, the hue, saturation, and value. You've got the RGB, and you've also got an alpha channel. And of course, we've got the HTML hex color. So again, I'm just going to click OK. You could resize how this actually looks from 1920, like the dimensions of it. So maybe if you don't want to fill the whole screen, maybe if you only want to fill a portion of the screen, you could adjust those values. But let's just click OK. And at the moment, you'll see that we've essentially lost me on top of this. I'll bring myself in over here for the moment. But essentially over here, you know, if we look at our sources, the one that we have on the top is actually going to be the thing that covers everything else. So in this case, what we can do is we can click on our white backgrounds and we can use this down arrow, which says move sources down, or we can actually just drag and drop further down in the list. So there you go. I'm back in the center of things, and I'm good to go. So we could do that. Something else that might be fun to try is if we incorporate another image. So again, anything you can design in any kind of graphic software, Microsoft PowerPoint, Canva, Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever you like, you can actually bring into this, into OBS Studio. So I'm going to go with the plus sign, and I'm going to find an image. And I'm going to call this one johnlacey.com image and go OK. And again, hopefully it'll default me to that same folder. It will, yep. So this is literally just a screenshot of my website that I prepared earlier. So if I click on this one, again, keep in mind that because I've added a new source, it defaults to the top. So let's drag it down underneath. So in this case, I probably want it underneath my web camera. If I put it underneath my white background, you won't see it at all. But that said, if we can double click on this one and go back into our options. And if we go to select color, we have this thing called the alpha channel. So the alpha channel is actually the opacity or transparency of our color. So 255 basically means it's completely opaque, and anything less than that will be slightly transparent. So if I just go 80, for example, click OK, click OK, you'll actually see that you can still see the white color sort of fading this out a little bit, but you can also see the image underneath it. So keep that in mind, because that's a really cool thing about this. And again, maybe I could make this black and keep the alpha at about 80. And then you see sort of a darkened version of that. So you can certainly do that as well. I mean, you can do literally whatever you like. So it's just a matter of building the scene out the way that you would like it to appear in the software. So another asset that I created as part of this demonstration is another image. So I'm going to go and add the image in here. And this is just a white circle, and it's a little bit larger than our black mask. And again, if I just find that one on my computer, this one here. And again, every time you add a source, just keep in mind it will be at the top, so make sure you move it into place. So in this case, we want it to be underneath our web camera. And it's got a little bit of drop shadow there as well, so those things sort of work quite nicely together. So what we could actually do now is that if I wanted to make sure that my webcam and my white circle were always together, I can actually click on the webcam, I can hold down the control key, and click on the white circle. And if I right click and go up to group selected items, it'll group them together. It'll ask for a name. So in this case, I'll just say the camera. Again, you don't really need to name anything in OBS, but it will become important for you the more elaborate that these things become. So just keep that in mind. So, you know, The nice thing about this, now that we've grouped these two things together, we can actually move them together. So we could actually move this to one side. We could actually hold down a corner and drag it in, and that will resize everything proportionally. So we can decide how we want to work with that particular camera there. And again, I must admit, I haven't really planned out a definitive layout for today's demonstration. So again, just play around with things until they look the way you want them to. I'm going to go back in here. So we obviously have this alpha channel for the what was the white background. I've actually made it a black background. I probably should rename that at some point. But let's just make this a little bit darker. So I'm going to say 150 for my alpha and go OK. And again, you'll see that there's a little bit more contrast there between my camera and my background. And in this case, this is literally my website. It could be anything at all. So, you know, if you've got a photo of your local area, if you've got product photos, if you've got a promotional message about your business or your services, you could certainly include that there as well. I might just I might just put myself back into the center. Another fun thing is if we right click on our camera and just make sure you've definitely got the camera selected, you'll see that there's actually a red bounding box around the two things that go into the group for the camera. If I right click on this one and go down to transform, we actually have all these options over here. So we've got the ability to rotate and flip, but we've also got some great things that are like fit to screen, stretch to screen, center to screen, center vertically and center horizontally. I'm conscious of the fact that some of those may be off the page in this demonstration, but if you actually want to center that perfectly centered, you certainly have that option in there. And center to the screen actually has its own keyboard shortcut, which is Control D. So again, if I move this out of the way and I hit Control D, it'll put it back in the center. So that's really cool. We can do that kind of thing. Another thing that we might like to incorporate is some text. So let's just imagine that we want to actually put our name here, maybe a URL. Maybe we want to send people off to our YouTube channel. Maybe we want to send them off to our website. We can go down to add source, and in this case, we're going to go to text GDI+. And again, everything in OBS Studio is going to ask you for a name. So let's say this one is John Lacey Text. And we'll go OK. And in the text field, I'm going to write John Lacey. I'll move this dialog box a little bit out of the way so you can sort of see that in relation to everything else. Basically, from here, if we've got the font, it's defaulted to Arial, I can go in and select another font. So if I wanted to use Open Sans, which is something I use in my branding a lot, I can certainly grab that from the list. Maybe I'll go, yeah, I'll try that one. Okay, so you can adjust that. You can change, if you scroll down, you can actually change the color. They actually have things for text transform. So if you wanted to make it completely uppercase, that's an option. If you want to make it lowercase, that's an option as well. Or start case, which in this case doesn't look any different, but that's good to know. There's even an option to make it vertical. So if you wanted to incorporate some vertical text, that's another way of doing it as well. All right, so you can incorporate a background color. You can do things with gradients. You can adjust the alignment as well, but let's keep this really, really simple for the moment. So I'm gonna actually grab my text and I might just move this underneath me. I guess the first thing to note about this specifically is there probably isn't enough contrast between the background and the text color. So before we do that, I'm going to rename this because it was white and now it's black. So let's go rename and we'll say black background. And again, if I double click on that one, I can look at the settings and I'll go to the set color. And I still want it to be a little bit transparent, but probably not as transparent as it is. Again, I'm going to try an alpha channel value of 200 and let's just go okay. I think that's probably better. Another thing that might be worthwhile in this particular case is if I actually make this this font a little bit bolder, and Open Sans actually has a whole library of different things. So if I go extra bold, I could do that as well. So I think that's actually looking better already. So again, there's all kinds of things that we can actually do in terms of actually setting up our scene. And it's probably worthwhile to try things out. I guess the other thing too is like we're for the OBS Studio Challenge today, we're only concerned about a single scene, but you can always create others. So if you do want to play around with different options, that's certainly a way to go. So this is Coffee and Content, the weekly live stream about video, live streaming, and content creation. I'm John Lacey. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching live, let me know where you're watching from because we're going out to a lot of various places today. But this is a coffee powered by caffeine, so I'm going to take another sip of coffee before we continue. So today we're actually talking about getting over the fear of using OBS Studio and how you can get started simply. It's not just for live streamers. It's not just for people playing games and sharing on Twitch. It has all kinds of applications. And we've downloaded and installed the software. We've built out our first little scene. I want to talk to you about the virtual camera because this is a camera that you can use anywhere you would use other cameras, but essentially it's going to show whatever is happening in OBS Studio specifically. So if we are, and really all you need to do to get started is hit that Start Virtual Camera button. And again, I'm conscious of the fact I'm in front of it, so let me just hide myself. So over here in the controls section, we have this Start Virtual Camera. There are some settings over here that you can actually work with to configure the virtual camera. Generally speaking, I wouldn't even worry about those. They're usually fine the way they are. But if I hit that Start Virtual Camera, it will actually make this available for other programs. So again, I don't have this open, but let me just get Zoom open really, really quickly, and I can show you how you can use this. While it's loading, I might just take another sip of coffee. All right, and you can use this in really any kind of software. So I'm using Zoom today as an example. But once you've got OBS Studio, open, and you've hit that virtual camera option, you can go up to your settings. And again, I'll just move that over here on the screen. You can see it in video. And it's already happened on mine, but if we just imagine that maybe it was on a different camera, all we really need to do is find the camera from this list that is called OBS Virtual Camera. And that will show whatever scene we've set up. So again, I'd really love to see more people actually give OBS Studio a chance because I know it can be really daunting, but you don't need to be scared of it. So what I would recommend, if you're interested, but you're still a little bit apprehensive, head over to johnlacey.com/LinkedIn. That'll take you to my LinkedIn channel. I've actually got an article about this with the steps in the Learn Live Streaming newsletter, so you can check that one out, and you can follow that over there. But just give it a go. And again, like you don't have to share this with the entire world. You can set it up, have a go. Test it with a sympathetic friend, someone that's going to be nice and give you some feedback, but in a nice way, not too critical. But yeah, certainly set these things up and have a go because it really is. It's quite an amazing piece of software and it is free. Again, it is incredibly powerful, but you don't need to be daunted by it. So thank you for joining me today. I've really enjoyed sharing the OBS challenge with you. I'd really love to hear from people that are going to give this a go because I think it will change your life. And again, it can be as simple or as elaborate as you want it to be, but the ability to have those branding elements in your web camera ready to go at any time is really, really powerful. So keep that in mind. I hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure you head over to johnlacey.com if you want to learn more about the kinds of things that I discuss, and you can subscribe to the Learn Live Streaming channel on YouTube as well. So thank you so much for your company today. Thank you for the people in the chat as well. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon.